The church bells rang that morning, but I barely noticed them. I stood by a tiny coffin, my hands trembling so badly I couldn't even straighten the white flowers on top. My son, Ethan, just 9 years old, was gone. The air felt heavy, thick with whispers from neighbors, distant relatives, and even strangers who had heard about the accident. But the people I needed most weren't there. I kept glancing at the door, praying they'd walk in. They'll come, they have to come. Instead, it was only more family friends, more pitying handshakes, more sympathetic looks. My sister Clarissa didn't show either. She once promised Ethan she'd be at his 10th birthday, yet she couldn't even come to his funeral. Halfway through the service, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mom. "Hope it goes well. Don't expect us. Cancun is beautiful this time of year. We deserve it after putting up with your drama." My knees nearly gave out. Attached was a picture, Mom, Dad, and Clarissa, all smiling in sunglasses, drinks in hand, posing on a sunny beach. They looked radiant, happy, alive. Beneath the photo was a line from Dad. "Life is for the living. Quit clinging to dead weight. You always made us miserable. Now your kid's gone too. At least we have Clarissa." My hands shook so violently I almost threw the phone. Instead, I shoved it into my pocket, my nails digging deep into my palms. The pastor's voice became background noise. All I could hear were their words, sharp and cruel, echoing in my head. "Life is for the living. Quit clinging to dead weight." Silent tears fell as I kissed the coffin before they lowered it into the ground. My world shattered, yet something darker stirred inside me, something Ethan would never have wanted, but it burned too strong to ignore. That night, I sat alone in my dark apartment, surrounded by Ethan's things, his toys on the shelf, his soccer ball by the couch, his sketchbook filled with superheroes. I held his last drawing and whispered a vow. "They'll never smile like that again, not while I'm alive." They chose Cancun over him, over me. They'll pay. I didn't eat, I didn't sleep. I planned, this time, I wouldn't be the one crying while they laughed. This time, it would be their turn to lose everything. I didn't step outside for days. Neighbors knocked with casseroles, some left flowers at my door, but I couldn't answer. All I could see was Ethan's last smile, trapped in my memory, cruelly mirrored by that photo of my parents, sipping mojitos while I buried their grandson. But eventually, they came to me, not for comfort, not for sorrow. 3 days later, still in the black dress from the funeral, I heard the doorbell. I opened it, and there they were, Mom, Dad, and Clarissa, fresh from Cancun, skin bronzed, luggage in tow, smirks plastered across their faces. "Well," Mom said, sliding off her sunglasses, "you look worse than usual. Turns out grief doesn't flatter you either." Clarissa snorted and wheeled her suitcase inside like she owned the place. Dad's lips twitched, not quite a smile, more like mockery. "Did you at least get a decent crowd at the funeral?" he asked, "or were they just curious to see if you'd make a scene?" I froze in the doorway, but they didn't wait for permission. They walked in as if my home were theirs. Clarissa glanced at Ethan's toys lined neatly on the shelf and wrinkled her nose. "Still haven't gotten rid of this junk. He's gone. Donate it, or better, burn it. No one needs reminders of accidents." My chest tightened, my throat closed, then Mom's voice cut through the silence, sharp as a blade. "We came back for something important. Not for him, not for you, for us, the inheritance." I blinked. "Inheritance?" Dad laughed, a hollow clap echoing through the room. "Don't play dumb. Ethan had that little school insurance policy, didn't he? 5 figures, maybe more. That money belongs to family, real family, which means us, not you, not that boy. He already wasted enough of our time." My stomach churned. They were standing in the home where Ethan's drawing still clung to the fridge, talking about money. "You didn't even come to his funeral," I whispered. "You were in Cancun." Mom's lip curled into disgust. "Funerals are for fools. You expect me to sit in a cold church, watching you bawl like some pathetic animal? No, I prefer champagne." Her eyes flicked to Clarissa, glinting. "Your sister needed us. She's alive. She matters, not your dead weight." Clarissa smirked, trailing her manicured nails across Ethan's soccer ball. "She's right. You've always been nothing. And Ethan, he was just like you, weak, soft, useless. The room tilted, my knees buckling. I pressed against the table, gripping it so hard my knuckles turned white. I wanted to scream, to throw them out, to shatter their smug faces, but instead, I went quiet, because in that silence, something else began to take shape, a storm, a plan. Dad leaned close, his breath heavy with liquor. You're going to hand it over, whatever little policy or savings were in his name. Don't make this harder. You've always been a leech. Don't prove us right again. And for the first time, I met his gaze head-on, and I smiled, not from joy, not from surrender, but from something far darker. Because that's when I realized something they could never understand. They thought they had crushed me, they thought I was finished, but every insult, every sneer, every laugh while I drowned in grief, wasn't breaking me, it was forging me. That night, after they finally left, after Mom stuffed leftovers into her purse like she hadn't just spat on Ethan's memory, after Clarissa tossed his sketchbook to the floor and called it scribbles, after Dad muttered pathetic on his way out, I sat in the dark. And I whispered, to the empty room, to Ethan if he could still hear me. They want everything, fine, I'll give them something they'll never erase. I'll turn their world to dust, not with tears, not with begging, but piece by piece, until they are the ones clawing at the ground. I didn't cry, I didn't even tremble. I pulled out a notebook and began writing, habits, patterns, weaknesses, the vacation spots they bragged about, the accounts they hid, the secrets they thought I never noticed. By dawn, I had my first blueprint for revenge. I wasn't going to punish them, I was going to erase them, exactly as they had erased Ethan. For weeks, I wore the mask of defeat. When my parents called, I answered with a flat voice. When Clarissa flaunted a new spa treatment or dress, I nodded emptily. I let them believe I was broken, that I'd soon hand over Ethan's money. But behind the silence, I was dismantling their lives. First came knowledge. Dad, drunk at his favorite bar, bragged about side hustles he never reported, money the IRS didn't know about. Mom ran her little counterfeit scheme, flipping fake designer bags to her rich friends. And Clarissa, she bled Dad's credit card dry, racking up debts he never saw because Mom buried the bills. I wrote it all down, every secret, every slip. Then I struck. One morning, with coffee in hand, I sent anonymous reports, dozens of them, tax fraud, insurance scams, counterfeit goods, each claim backed with evidence, photos of bank statements I'd snapped in secret, emails Dad left open, voice recordings of Clarissa boasting to friends. Within a week, letters arrived. Mom laughed at first, until she saw the words investigation and audit. For the first time in my life, her face went pale. But that was only the beginning. Next, I dismantled their reputations. Dad's country club, the only place he felt important. Mom's brunch circle, the women she bragged to about her perfect daughter. Clarissa's online following, her entire self-worth. I fed each of them carefully packaged truth, screenshots, recordings, receipts, proof that Dad was a fraud, proof that Mom was a scammer, proof that Clarissa was nothing but a thief in designer knockoffs. By the end of the month, Dad's membership was revoked, Mom's clients vanished, Clarissa's followers turned on her, flooding her comments with fraud and fake rich girl. But their real downfall, that came later. It was a Friday night, when the flashing red and blue lights painted their lawn. Neighbors stepped out onto porches, whispering as squad cars lined the street. Officers went in and came out carrying boxes, files, computers, bags of evidence. Dad roared at them, face blotched with rage. "We are respected people. You can't do this to us," Mom sobbed, mascara running in black streaks down her cheeks. Clarissa shrieked about her privacy being violated. And me? I sat across the street in my car, hoodie pulled low, watching. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. I only felt one thing, justice. But I wasn't finished. Tearing down their money, their status, their paper-thin power wasn't enough. They still had one weapon left, each other. That bond of cruelty they'd built, sharpened, and used against me and Ethan. So I decided to break that too. A small package appeared on their doorstep. Inside, printed evidence of every secret they thought they'd hidden. Mom's counterfeit sales. Dad's tax evasion. Clarissa's credit theft. Each page stamped with one bold line. They gave you up first. I could picture it, Mom accusing Dad, Dad pointing at Clarissa, Clarissa screaming back at both. And I knew it worked. A week later, whispers spread through the neighborhood about shouting matches so loud the walls shook. Their empire of lies was rotting from within. Meanwhile, I vanished. Sold my apartment. Packed Ethan's toys and drawings into 2 suitcases. Left the city. Not fleeing, starting over. Before I went, I drove by their house one last time. I didn't knock. I didn't go inside. I just stood on the opposite curb, staring at the crooked "for sale" sign staked in the lawn. The curtains hung ripped. The grass was overgrown. The neighbors averted their eyes. The family once worshipped, envied, feared, was now a cautionary tale. A stain. I whispered into the evening air, "This is for you, Ethan." They erased you. So I erased them. Then I turned and walked away. I never looked back.